Hi, this is Sherry Hayes with All Things Home Upstate South Carolina. I'm sure that many of you have heard about the recent changes in the real estate industry and the different lawsuits that have come out. There's been a lot of misinformation. So I thought it would be good to sit down as if I were talking to my own client and give you my opinions on it, the facts on it, break it down where a regular consumer could understand it. So stay tuned if you're interested in that, and I'll try to uncover all of the hype and bring it down to a level that anyone could understand. We own a home building company, and I am a local licensed realtor here in Greenville, South Carolina. And so I have many years of business experience behind me that kind of plays into how I view all of this. So I wanted to just give you that information on the front end so you'd understand where I'm coming from. I will put all of our information as far as contact in the description below so that you can contact us if you have more questions. But this is just for the consumer, so sit back and enjoy. So I'm sure you've heard in the news that there have been real estate lawsuits, Sitzer-Burnett trial, NAR settlement, Keller Williams Remax. I'm sure you've heard about it by now. There is just a ton of misinformation out there. Do I believe that there was wrongdoing? No, I really don't. Because what this boils down to is each business, each brokerage decided, well, this is what we've got to charge to stay in business. And as a business person, you will understand that you have overhead, you have different fees that you've got to pay. There are different costs involved in being in business, and you have to be able to have a profit over those costs. I know several listing agents that have staggered fees based on the services that they offer. And the thought process has been, oh, if we can get these real estate fees changed, then home prices will come down. Well, let me tell you why I don't believe that that's going to happen. You need to understand the backstory of the fact that we are in an inventory deficit right now. We went through 2008 to 12 recession. During the recession, there were a lot of restrictions over home lending that forced builders to either pause or put on hold. Some went bankrupt during that time period. And a lot of contractors left the business, to be very perfectly honest. So then you have a period of about 10 years, really, where there was very little to no home building. We know that there is a housing shortage, and it is being caused by multiple factors. One being a long pause in construction during the recession. Another thing that has happened is with the low interest rates and with large corporations that are investment companies, many properties have been bought to be rental properties or Airbnb properties. So that takes some of the properties off the market as well, putting even more pressure on the market. Back to the commission lawsuit, the seller always had the ability to for sale by owner, to advertise their own property and decide whether they wanted to pay a commission at all. Now, they couldn't advertise on the MLS, but realtors have to pay subscriptions to have access to the MLS. So they do deserve to be paid when they do the work for you. And they will offer different services with that: professional photography, staging, cleaning, moving, landscape service, painting. I mean, there are all kinds of different deals out there that people offer with different fees. So that is important to know, that no, there was never a set fee that was required Now, each brokerage would have a set fee as a business, and those fees would be kind of determined by the competition, because that's how all business works. The brokerage would take the listing fee and they would split off part of it, not always half of it, to go to a buyer's agent. Why did they do that? Well, if you think about shopping at your favorite department store, that's almost like that store offering you 30% off or a coupon to come and shop. It entices you to come to that store to buy whatever you need. And that's the same principle with the real estate commission being split off and part of it being offered for the buyer's agent. 20 years ago or so, that was not the case. So the current system, which is now being changed, was put in place to protect the buyer and give them representation. And I've got to tell you that the truth of the matter is the buyer brings all of the money to the closing table. If they don't have a loan or cash to come to the closing table, there's no sale. So the buyer is bringing the money, even if the commission on the settlement statement shows on the seller side. The buyer is still the one bringing the money. Now the seller is giving up part of their equity. The current changes are saying that the buyer's agent will have to get a contract with you, the buyer, before you show a home. Now, how does that work? Well, in my mind, I've always set that up ahead of time anyhow. I've always had a conference call or met with my client ahead, and I have them do all of the paperwork, the proof of funds, the pre-approval, and the exclusive buyer's contract. And I'm explaining to them, you are hiring me. However, the seller may be offering to compensate or provide part of this fee, or maybe all of it. Now, so that's the first thing. You're going to have this contract set up with your buyer's agent in order to be able to go out and actually look for homes. Now, do I think that's a good idea? Absolutely. And why? I wouldn't want someone in my home without them being pre-approved or having a pre-approval, knowing they can afford the home, and being under contract with a realtor who's kind of vetted them and checked them out. I don't want people touring my home that are not ready to buy. I don't want people that are just kind of thinking about moving to the area or thinking about maybe touring luxury homes. And by the way, with a lot of luxury homes over $1 million, the listing agent might be present during the showing anyhow, and they might require that you have proof of funds or pre-approval prior to the showing. So it is important to note, if you were the seller, if you were in the position of being the homeowner, you're not going to want people making you clean your home, get your yard ready, move pets, move elderly parents, children, whatever, and schedule a showing that are not really serious about making an offer. So in just respect for the seller, make sure that you have all these things in line. Now, is there a way that you could meet with a buyer's agent and maybe tour a couple of homes before you sign a long-term contract? Sure, because you can set up a contract for any length of time. But the agent should tell you how much they're charging. They know what services they provide and what they're going to need to charge for those services, and they may give you choices. Like I said before, they may give you a menu of choices where you can choose different levels of service. Another thing that's been said, realtor fees and the lawsuits are going to solve all of our problems and make home prices come down. And I just want to clear this up, because this has come from our leadership, our government leadership, that real estate fees are going to make home prices come down, and that realtors should cooperate and help home prices to come down, and that real estate fees are junk fees. I've even heard that. So I want to address that because it really is making a lot of people mad. There are some very decent, honest realtors out there that work very hard. If you can imagine getting in your car and using your gas and your maintenance on your car to show 10, 20, 30 homes, to write multiple offers, spending afternoons and evenings answering questions for clients. I mean, this is not, it's not an easy job. There are some transactions that go easier than others, but there's a lot of back-end work involved and training in knowing how to navigate real estate in each state. Realtors licensed in each state, like let's say you've dealt with someone in Colorado or Connecticut or Wisconsin, the laws are different in every state. So it's important that you get someone that understands the laws where you are trying to shop, and hyper-local, that they understand the area where you are trying to shop. The seller, if they are determined not to pay a buyer's agent fee, they're going to actually try to keep as much of that money as they can. Why else would they do that? They're not doing it to give the buyer a better deal, so they're not going to give that up. So you've still got people that have bought at low interest rates that really can't afford to sell and make sense moving. And then you've got builders that can't make sense out of taking the risk of building a bunch of spec homes that they can't move. And then you've got tract builders trying to move their inventory, but not everybody wants a small lot and a tract home. So there are multiple things happening there that keep prices high. Homes are very dependent on fuel costs, and not just new homes, homes being flipped, homes being refurbished. They're all dependent on material costs, and right now material costs are high because gas is high, and transportation to get those materials to the job site is high. But the biggest thing is supply and demand. So when you hear on the news, oh, this commission lawsuit is going to solve all of our problems and prices on homes are going to come down, that is just completely false. So as the consumer, can you feel confident and comfortable signing an exclusive buyer agency agreement with a buyer's agent? Well, yes, you can, because the right to accept an offer or to buy a home is completely in your court. So you will know what is being offered by the seller. And this kind of goes back to the lawsuits discussion on steering. They actually are taking the buyer's agent's commission offering from the listing off of the MLS, where it's now not going to be known. So that buyer agent is going to have to contact the selling or listing agent to find out if the seller is offering a fee or not. And then they will go back to their buyer and say, well, this listing is offering to cover your buyer's agent commission in full, or it's offering to cover part of it, or it's offering to cover none of it, or we can negotiate a concession or a lower price for you. So there are lots of ways that that could go. So there still will be sellers offering a buyer's agent commission, but your buyer's agent is going to have that discussion now directly with the seller and the listing agent. And by the way, do you think the listing agent is going to be willing to all of a sudden do twice the work for half the pay? Probably not. You wouldn't be happy if you went to work and your employer said, we're cutting your pay in half. I think you'd probably be looking for another job. So these listing agents also can't afford to show 40 different buyers their home that they have listed, and they may have 20 different listings going at once. So they surely cannot afford to, for free, show all of those different buyers a home and write up the offers or help them write up an offer. And that gets into a whole nother point. We have a disclosure that we really have to have buyers or sellers fill out up front. But what it says is we're representing you as our client unless we get into a situation of dual representation. And that means, well, all of a sudden you're interested in a listing that I have. Now I'm representing you and the seller. And that's all kinds of conflicts of interest that can occur there. Trust me, because there have been some situations I've been involved in where that has occurred. It is really the best for the buyer to have their own representation and for the seller to have their own representation. And a buyer's agent has access to all kinds of information on the community, the taxes, who's the seller, how long have they owned the property, what do they owe on the property. You're not going to get that from Zillow or Realtor.com. There are just so many things that an agent can tell you that you can't find on the internet. Typically, you would find a seller's disclosure, maybe a plan of the house or condo or townhome. There's some things that are shared. It's called IDX, shared with other search engines like Zillow and Realtor.com, and other things that are not. So having an agent on your side that can help you with that knows inspectors, appraisers, attorneys, photographers, all kinds of different things, all of that can really help you. Buyer's agent commission is paid at closing, and it shows up on the settlement right now under the seller's side, but that's probably going to change. You're probably going to see the buyer's agent side showing under the buyer's agent section of the settlement statement. And that's fine, honestly. Buyers need to understand that they are taking the time of that agent. They're costing that agent money in gas. They are taking their time on Saturdays, weekends, Sundays, evenings, asking them questions. It's much more than just opening a door for someone and then to sit down and go through the process of explaining and writing an offer. There's a lot involved in a real estate transaction. And yes, you can do it yourself, for sure. That choice has always been there, and it will continue to be there. But if you do choose to hire an agent, be respectful of their time. The two major changes are going to be the compensation will no longer show a buyer's agent fee. And if the buyer chooses to hire a buyer's agent, they're going to have to sign an agreement, an exclusive agreement. It could be just for one day or 1 week, or it could be for 3 months or 6 months, depending on the scope of what needs to be done. But they are going to tell you what their commission is, and you're going to know that up front. And I've always done it that way. I just feel like that is the most transparent and trustworthy way to operate a business, is that you need to know up front what you're paying and how you're paying. Prices during the buying process or selling process can be negotiated between the buyer and the seller to arrive at an agreeable price and hopefully get to closing. Well, thanks again for watching All Things Home Upstate South Carolina. Again, I'm Sherry Hayes, and I am a realtor with Northgroup Real Estate Greenville, and we own a local custom home building business, Hayes Homes Incorporated. There have always been changes in the housing and real estate market, and there certainly are a lot of them going on right now. So best to be informed as a consumer. And if we can help you with buying, selling, or building, be sure to reach out and give us a call or email or text. We'll be happy to help you. Have a great day.